A pouch of coins hits the table. It is a heavy sound. It is the sound of metal striking wood, a dull thud that echoes in the silence of the tavern. To the untrained ear, this sound is the music of success. It signifies payment. It signifies a job done and a reward collected. But listen closer. If you listen with the ears of a man who understands the nature of power, that sound changes. It does not sound like metal. It sounds like iron links snapping together. It sounds like the clicking of a lock. For most men, the arrival of money is not the arrival of freedom. It is simply the tightening of a chain that was forged long ago. You work hard. You bleed for your resources. You trade the limited hours of your life, hours you will never get back, in exchange for these coins. Yet, look at your life. At the end of the month, the pouch is empty. You are not a king sitting on a throne of abundance. You are merely a conduit. The resources flow through you like water pouring through a cracked cup. You touch the money for a moment, and then it is gone. It flows to the landlord, to the bank, to the bartender, to the merchant selling bright, shiny things. You are left standing in the cold, exhausted, waiting for the next drop of water to hit your tongue. You talk about honor. You talk about the code of the warrior. But you are living in quiet, desperate debt to yourself. This is not a lesson about accounting. This is a lesson about sovereignty. The way you handle the coin is a direct reflection of the way you handle your impulses. If you cannot command the small pieces of metal in your pocket, you cannot command your life. A man who is slave to his own desires will always be a slave to the men who pay him. To break these chains, we must look at money not as mathematics, but as a moral skill. We must understand the difference between being paid and being owned. Consider the mercenary of the old world. He is a man of violence and skill. He is hired by a king to fight a border war. He risks his life in the mud. He survives the arrows and the spears. At the end of the campaign, he is given a heavy bag of gold. It is more money than a farmer sees in a lifetime. The mercenary feels like a god. He walks into the city and he spends. He buys the finest silk for women he does not know. He drinks wine imported from distant lands. He feasts until he is sick. He throws coins at beggars to watch them scramble. He feels powerful because he can buy the world. 3 days later, the bag is empty. The silk is stained. The wine is gone. The headache remains. And then a messenger arrives. The king has a new job. It is a suicide mission. It is a war that the mercenary does not believe in. It is a dishonorable task that goes against his code. The mercenary wants to say no. He wants to walk away and rest, but he reaches into his pocket and finds only dust. He is hungry. He has no shelter. So he picks up his sword and he bows to the king. He says yes. In that moment, he realizes the trap. He was paid, yes, but because he lacked discipline, he was owned. The king did not need to chain him. The mercenary chained himself with his own lack of foresight. This is the state of the modern man. You do not carry a sword, but you fight a war of attrition every day. You fight against the chaos of the economy. You fight against the inflation that eats your labor. And most of all, you fight against the engineered temptation of a world designed to separate you from your wealth. Every advertisement, every notification, every shiny object is a weapon aimed at your impulse control. They know that if they can make you feel inadequate, you will spend. If they can make you feel bored, you will spend. If they can make you feel sad, you will spend. Impulse spending is nothing more than obedience to emotion. It is a moment of weakness where you allow a fleeting feeling to dictate your reality. You see the object and you feel a spike of desire. You tell yourself you deserve it. You tell yourself it will make you happy. You hand over the coin. In doing so, you are surrendering. You are telling the world that your long-term freedom is less important than your short-term pleasure. You are burning the wood of your house to keep warm for 10 minutes. The warrior understands that saving is not about being stingy. It is not about hoarding gold like a dragon in a cave. Saving is delayed self-respect. Every coin you do not spend is a soldier you have recruited for your future. It is a day of freedom you have bought for yourself. When you have a fortress of resources, you have options. When the boss disrespects you, you can walk away. When the market crashes, you can stand firm. When a friend is in trouble, you can help. This is the power of the coin. It is not about luxury. It is about the ability to say no to things that dishonor you. The silent killer of this freedom is lifestyle inflation. This is the trap that catches even the smart men. You get a promotion, you work harder, you make more money, but instead of buying freedom, you buy a bigger cage. You buy a car that requires a higher payment. You move to a house that requires more maintenance. You eat at restaurants that charge double for the same food. Your income rises, but your stress rises with it. You are running faster and faster on a treadmill that is going nowhere. You look wealthy to the outside world, but inside, you are panicking. You are one paycheck away from ruin. This is not the way of the warrior. This is the way of the fool who paints his shackles gold and calls it jewelry. To escape this cycle, you need a protocol. You need a system that removes emotion from the equation. The warrior divides his harvest into 3 buckets. This is not a complex financial spreadsheet. It is a battle plan. The first bucket is survival. This is the roof over your head, the food on your table, the heat in the winter. This must be covered first. There is no honor in starving your family to look rich. The second bucket is training. This is the money you spend to sharpen the blade. It goes to books that teach you. It goes to the gym that strengthens you. It goes to the tools that make you more dangerous in your craft. This is not spending. It is reinvesting in the machine. The third bucket is the fortress. This is the money that never leaves. It is the fund for the future. It is the money that buys your autonomy. You treat this bucket with sacred respect. You feed it before you feed your entertainment. You must also install a circuit breaker in your mind. The modern world makes it too easy to spend. One click and the money is gone. You must create friction. Implement the 48-hour rule. When you see something you want, a new gadget, a piece of clothing, a toy, you do not buy it. You wait. You write it down. You wait 2 full days and 2 full nights. During this time, the chemical spike of dopamine will fade. The emotion will cool. You will look at the item with the cold eyes of logic. 90% of the time, you will realize you do not need it. You will realize it was just a distraction. You strike it from the list and you keep your coin. You have won a small victory over your own weakness. Finally, you must face the truth. Most men are cowards when it comes to their bank accounts. They are afraid to look. They swipe the card and pray it works. They live in a fog of denial. The warrior seeks clarity, even when it is painful. Once a week, you must sit down for 10 minutes. You look at what came in. You look at what leaked out. You do not judge yourself. You observe. You see where you were weak. You see where you were strong. You make one rule to improve for the next week. No more coffee from the shop. No more subscriptions I do not use. You tighten the ship. You stop the leaks. There is a myth that says money corrupts the soul. They say that to be spiritual or to be deep, you must be poor. This is a lie told by weak men to justify their lack of discipline. Money is not good or evil. Money is an amplifier. If you are a fool, money will make you a loud, dangerous fool. If you are a good man, money will give you the power to do great good. If you are disciplined, money will give you the peace to focus on higher things. Debt is a time machine. It steals your future to pay for your present. When you borrow for things you do not need, you are selling your future self into slavery. You are making a deal that the future version of you will have to work to pay for the pleasure you are having right now. That is a betrayal of your own timeline. The warrior protects his future self. He sacrifices today so that the man he becomes in 10 years can stand tall. Calmness does not come from flexing on Instagram. It does not come from the logo on your shirt. Calmness comes from knowing that if the world burns down tomorrow, you can survive. It comes from looking at a problem and knowing you have the resources to solve it. It comes from the quiet confidence of a man who owns his own time. So, listen to the sound of the coin again. Throw it on the table. Does it sound like a chain, or does it sound like a tool? The difference is in your mind. The difference is in your discipline. Do not let the shiny objects distract you from the mission. Do not let the applause of the crowd tempt you into poverty. Build your fortress. Sharpen your blade. Control the flow. The only question is, will you be the master of the coin, using it to build a life of honor, or will you be the servant of the coin, dancing for pennies until your legs give out? The choice is yours. Control the currency, or it will consume you.